This summer, the community difference is stepping onto one of the biggest stages in sports. As we've been granted official media access to the KPMG Women's PGA Championship. This isn't just golf. This is excellence, dedication, precision, leadership. The same values that drive champions on the course are the ones that build championship communities. At the Community Difference, we're more than media. We're a movement. We don't just show up, we connect, engage, and highlight the people and places making an impact. From city halls to championship fairways, our mission stays the same. Shine the spotlight where it belongs, on the difference makers. Join us all month long in June as we celebrate the people, partners, and professionals who bring the PGA to life. Tune in June 5th and June 19th on our Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn channels as we interview and share the untold stories of what makes the PGA a true difference maker for Frisco, Collin County, and Denton County. Because for us, it's never just about the event, it's about the impact. From championship fairways to thriving cities, the Community Difference exists to connect, elevate, and inspire. The Community Difference, where champions of sport and champions of community come together.
Welcome to the Community Difference, Collin County. The show where community comes first, leadership is amplified, and impact is the expectation, not the exception. Covering 12 thriving municipalities across Collin County, we spotlight the professionals, creatives, nonprofit leaders, and bold connectors who are shaping the future of North Texas. From McKinney to Melissa, from Plano to Prosper, from Frisco to Fairview. Each episode dives into the issues that matter most to our local business and civic communities. From leadership and entrepreneurship to education, economic growth, service, innovation, and the power of collaboration. If it impacts how we live, lead, or grow in Collin County, we talk about it. The Community Difference is powered by the Business Development Alliance and made possible by the Difference Media LLC. With a trusted team of co-hosts who live, work, and lead in the communities we serve, this show is built on collaboration and powered by people who care. Now, getting today's conversation started, your host, Brian Poduska.
All right, good morning, Frisco, or good afternoon, depending on when you're watching this. Welcome back to our PGA Month. As part of our month of June, we are highlighting the PGA of America as well as the Women's PGA Championship coming the third week of June to Frisco. Part of that, we have a special guest with us today, Mr. Jason Mengel, official title Championship Director, PGA of America. Is that accurate?
Perfect, yeah.
All right. Well, welcome to the show today, Jason. Appreciate you spending your time with us and having us in these fabulous PGA of America headquarters here. We couldn't be happier to have you on.
Well, thank you all for dedicating a whole month to the PGA of America. Can't express how much we appreciate that support.
Yeah, 100%. So a little bit of bio background. I won't go through. I did pull down an entire paragraph, but I did want to give a little bit of bio so people understand what your background is. So about Jason, the PGA of America's Championship Director for the association's PGA Frisco-based major championships is Jason Mengel. Jason is responsible for directing a staff whose primary focus is the strategic planning and successful execution of these significant events, including the upcoming 2025 KPMG Women's PGA Championship, as well as the 2027 PGA Championship on the men's side. So Jason is the first person at the PGA of America to serve as the championship director for each of the association's 4 spectator championships, which is the 43rd Ryder Cup, 2015, 2017, 2027 PGA Championships, 2025 Women's PGA Championship, and the 2013-2023 Senior PGA Championships. So that is a mouthful. Obviously, you've had your hands full this past year and a half, I would think, right? But we're coming down to, go time, right?
Yeah.
So go time tournament kicks off, or tees off, I should say, next Thursday. We're interviewing a week before here. But tell us what your biggest challenge is in the next week and a half here.
Well, yeah, thanks for that. It just really illustrates to me how I'm getting older. I've been around long enough to have accomplished those things, and I'm very fortunate to have this role at the PGA of America, which I've really enjoyed my time here, and I'm thankful for that. So this is airing Thursday, so the championship will officially have begun. This planning process really dates back to when we arrived on site. Here, we moved here, moving family down in Wisconsin. After the Ryder Cup was completed, we arrived in June of 22. And really, even before that, I made a number of trips down to see the campus. The office officially opened in August 22. Really, it's been a sprint ever since. And so, as we went through our first major championship here, which was the 2023 Senior PGA Championship.
Yeah.
Actually, that event occurred only 3 weeks after the property opened.
Yeah, I remember
so
that.
I joked that we were still trying to figure out where the light switches were here. But inside the ropes, couldn't have been happier with the outcome of that championship. I mean, Steve Stricker won. He actually was in a playoff against Padraig Harrington, and those two were the Ryder Cup captains on opposite sides of Whistling Straits. So it was kind of like a full circle moment. Outside the ropes at that event, we had great support from the community and the golf fans and volunteers. We had a committee that came together within a year of the championship, and that committee, the chairs and volunteers, have been involved in every one of our events. So with the women's event this week, we'll have volunteers who would participate in all 5 of our events that we've had here, including our member and amateur championships. So really the embrace that we've had from the community for our championships here has been remarkable.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, we're going to get to the tournament here in a second. What I wanted to do is just, so you said you moved here 2 years ago, roughly?
Yeah, June of 22.
June of 20, okay, so 3 years ago then. You reside in Salina, right? And your kids go to the Prosper ISD. You've got three children?
Yeah, we have 2 now in high school. Oldest Ryan, she was on the golf team at Prosper High School.
They play golf.
we love to play together. None of us are that great at it. But it is a wonderful family activity, and especially when you move around, it's great to have these activities that we can do together as a family. And so we have Collin, there's our son, he's going into high school this coming year, and then Blake is our youngest, he's going into 5th grade.
Okay, awesome. Well, so it sounds like you've been around the block a little bit with the PGA of America as well as your previous career, moved around a lot. What was the biggest challenge getting used to Texas here?
Yeah, I'd say anytime you move, the act of moving in and of itself isn't terribly fun.
Right.
It's not fun putting your stuff in boxes. It's not fun finding new schools and doctors and so on and so forth. But it is all, like anything else in life, it is what you make of it. And so my wife Jill and I have tried to make it an adventure, and now we have a network all over the country, literally. But when we moved down to Texas, we happened to, with our kids being school age, the first priority is good school districts.
Yeah.
Beyond that, the second priority is living as close to the office as possible, especially this time of year, as we are now in championship week, and you can imagine the hours that come with that. So to not spend 45 minutes or an hour with commuting to the host site is very important. And so we were able to luck out and had some good help finding a place to live here, and we couldn't be happier with where we landed. We're just up the road in Salina, and I'm sure, as you know, just because you're in Salina doesn't mean your kids go to Salina schools or our kids go to Prosper schools. And if we want to get our mail, we actually have to use an Aubrey address. So it's kind of confusing, but technically we live in Salina.
Yeah, I'm in real estate, so I understand that whole area is a little bit.
I'm sure you probably know the exact neighborhood I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do indeed. That's awesome. So before we get to the tournament, I have to ask, so you've been here 3 years, you've been here long enough, what's your favorite thing to do in the area here?
Yeah, really because of the age of our family and because we're all passionate about golf at some level, we actually spend a lot of time here at PGA Frisco. There's plenty to do. It's free to use the dance floor, so we'll grab our putters and come out in a day, and they often have concerts or something going on the weekend, drone shows and things like that. So really, because it's so close, we spend a lot of our free time here.
Yeah.
We've done other things in the area, gone down to the Katy Trail a couple times.
Yeah.
We love going to downtown Salina and McKinney, and we have our favorite pizza place down in Frisco, Pizzeria Testa. But really, we spend a lot of our free time here.
Awesome.
Which just means, because I'm here most of the time for work, that PGA Frisco must be something special if I want to come back in my off
Right?
hours.
Who else wants to go take their family to work?
Right.
But I mean, I can attest. I think it was last Father's Day. My kids all took me and we did the swing. We played the swing,
awesome.
which it was super cool. I was blown away. I'm like, okay, man, I brought way too many clubs. I didn't realize I didn't need that many clubs, but those greens are tough, even on the swing. I was like, oh man.
And I think it's actually designed to play with a putter if you needed to. And so just to think of like, you don't have to be a passionate golfer to enjoy everything we have here at PGA Frisco.
Yeah, 100%. And that dance floor is an awesome thing, and it's free. You don't have to bring your own putter.
There's like an ice cream shop, and you want to grab a adult beverage at the ice house and walk around, you can do that.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Awesome. Well, thank you for a little bit of background on the personal side. Seeing as how we're coming up to the start of the tournament, just want to ask you a few things on the whole prep for the tournament. I know you guys have had this on the calendar for a long time. How long have you been planning for this?
Yeah, I mean, really since we got here, we were looking at it, the golf course and the surroundings and recruiting parking lots and things like that for every championship we've had here. And so as we got past the senior, there were certain things that we looked at the week of the senior PGA that will impact planning for this championship, but also with an eye on 2027. And so for us to have as close to a repeat site as possible, in a normal scenario, we may come back to a site 5-10 years down the road and the names and faces of the leadership has changed and maybe the footprint of the golf course has changed, but to almost have it in like real time where we can implement changes. Now we're within 2 years to the PGA Championship already, so we're already thinking of what we would do different for that event, and this event is just getting up and running.
Yeah, that's crazy. I love how it's all lined up, and I know you guys run the Ryder Cup as well.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's somewhere in the future down the road here as well.
The next Open Ryder Cup site domestically is 2041. So
wow. Okay. Well,
that's a long way off, but yeah, we're
gotta have goals, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. So specific to Frisco, right?
Yeah.
What unique qualities does Frisco bring to hosting the KPMG Women's PGA Championship, and how did those help shape your planning for the event?
Yeah, I think one of the first things we noticed in one of my early trips before we even moved here is what I've come to refer to as like Team Frisco. And they all came out, the leadership of the city, obviously, and then the Frisco Economic Development Corporation, Visit Frisco, the schools, the Chamber of Commerce. They all have been a part of planning one way, shape, or form for these championships. And we literally couldn't do it without those folks. And so we get together with the leadership of those entities for lunch a couple times, every month or two, and it really is kind of streamlined what typically would be a time-consuming planning process. You'd have to go meet separately with the school district or separately with the police department, but this way everyone came together, and to have that connectivity at the top levels. Yeah. Obviously, that then filters down to staff, both on our side, but also throughout the city entities.
That's awesome. Well, that was going to be one of my questions later, but you hit the point right away, is that Frisco works together.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if yes, there's siloed from an organizational standpoint, but when all those silos start working together, that's when the power happens. And I've seen it myself. It's great to hear it from a tournament planning perspective.
Yeah, and also, that's obviously everybody that falls under like the city umbrella. But you think about the other entities here, specifically in the sports community. Yeah. We have great relationships with FC Dallas and Frisco Rough Riders, and just how we all come together for these major events. It's quite remarkable.
Yeah, no, that's awesome to hear. Okay, so another question, tournament specific. So what logistical or operational challenges have been most significant in staging such a large event, especially with a growing tournament?
Yeah, so every golf course or host site has its unique challenges and opportunities. Yeah. And so one thing that's great for our championships is to have the PGA district. And so for our sponsored events, we've used the PGA shop in the district as our merchandise outlet for the sponsored events. We're able to use Ice House and Lounge by Topgolf as like an ancillary concessions outlet. Yeah. But also that's a challenge for building things behind 9 and 18, because the main pathway to get there is through the district, and work doesn't stop. this time of year, and so certainly safety is always a concern for an event here, as it is at every event, but just highlighted with the amount of general public traffic day to day in the district. Construction for this event started early May. So by the time we tear everything down, that'll be 2 or 3 months. And that is 2 or 3 months where the district is packed every day on the weekend. So that's a challenge. And of course, it's an outdoor event. That's not specific to this championship here in Frisco. It's with every championship. And so we can imagine that it's going to be warm this week. So we've known that for a while. Last year we were in Seattle for the women's PGA, and we kept a keen eye on what the temperatures were like back here in Frisco. So there's things you can do to plan against this. Obviously we talked about the district outlets being open, and that's a great place to take a break from the warm temperatures and go in and grab a bite to eat or some championship gear. But then we also created several fan oasis locations around the property. Every spectator will have access to complimentary bottled water stations. We've got a number of other things we're doing with cooling locations and some giveaways during the week that will help mitigate the heat.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I did hear that last week about the water stations. So that's unique to this tournament. It's never been done at other at PGA.
Well, we did it at the senior PGA here also.
Okay.
The PGA Championship is now completely food included. So any ticket holder at the PGA Championship has access to all you can eat essentially all day long in concessions. And non-alcoholic beverages. So we've just taken the water component of that, so we're not quite there to the full thing yet, but we will see that in 27. We will have the fooding program here in 2027.
Okay, there you go. Awesome. So you kind of alluded at it, but to the fan experience, right? Here's a question to the fan experience, and you touched a little bit on it. Can you share strategies used to enhance the fan experience, which you kind of just touched on, but not only on site but digitally, if that's an enhancement, and that's for spectators, not just your traditional maybe older skewing spectators, but also for the youth.
Yeah, I'll touch on the digital aspect first. Through our partnership with T-Mobile and their 5G network, that has enhanced certainly the broadcast with additional coverage, but also the on-site experience for guests as far as Wi-Fi and connectivity. As far as the overall spectator experience, we did learn some things at the senior PGA that will create a new main entrance location. And we're actually flipping 9 and 18 for this event. And why we did that is because we saw that while we had room to build our infrastructure, it kind of left not a lot of space for the general fan to enjoy the closing holes. And so with the new, we're actually playing the daily 9 as Championship 18, which will allow for more gallery to create that atmosphere as the players come down the stretch around 18, which certainly is a benefit to the spectators, but also to the players to create that championship atmosphere.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, I know you're on a tight schedule, and we appreciate the time that you're dedicating to us. So I'm going to ask you a few quick hitter questions, and then we'll let you off the hook.
Okay.
Here. All right, so like I said, you've been planning this for years. You've known about this for several years, even before you moved here. What's been the most fun aspect of planning this tournament?
Yeah, and this is true of every event. To see it literally go from something on a spreadsheet or 2D plan, and then our design architects firm is very great at creating 3D renderings, but then to actually see that be built.
Yeah.
And then when you get to the championship, like we're on Thursday, we have spectators on property, and that is another fun aspect of this event, that people are actually coming out here, smiles on their faces.
Yes.
So that's great. And then what it means to golfers. This is a major championship. It's not an exaggeration to say it's career defining, it's legacy defining, it's life changing.
Yeah.
Certainly if you're a professional golfer and that's your job, your legacy is going to be defined by the major championships you've won. And so to get to change somebody's life with what you do, you play a small role in the outcome of the event, of course, but it's great to even have that small role in someone's life changing.
That's a cool perspective to think about it from. One recommendation that I've done, and I've never planned an event like this, obviously, but make sure you take a moment, look out that window, and soak it all in when it's going on.
Yeah, I often get asked, do you get to watch a lot of golf during the week? And no is the answer.
Yeah, right.
We typically try to gather the team before the first tee ball on Thursday, and so with one of our Northern Texas PGA members qualifying into the championship, and probably will hit one of the first tee shots off number 1 early on Thursday. I can imagine there'll be a lot of people cheering her on, Caitlin. But also it's just a nice moment for the staff to take a pause and kind of think about the journey that we've had to get there.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, another quick question. What's the biggest challenge you've had planning the event?
Yeah, major championships, even a sponsored championship, are the ultimate like square peg in a round hole.
Yeah.
And so as I mentioned earlier, every event has its unique challenges. I think a couple things that have been a challenge here, just logistically, it's kind of a spread out golf course. So we have the vendor compound on Teal, and then you have to take the hike bike around to get back to the center of the action. But every site has its own challenge. And we talked earlier about it's an outdoor event, so obviously if it rains, like we've had a lot of rain here recently, which just makes the not necessarily inside the ropes aspect, but the back of house areas where we've needed to use those to build the event just makes it a little messier than maybe we would like. But that's not specific to here.
Yeah, gotcha. All right, looking forward. So last couple questions, right? So what long-term benefits do you hope the championship will bring to Frisco beyond the immediate tournament week? Again, you're coming back in 2 years with the men's, but what long-term goals do you guys have?
Yeah, I think there's the ancillary benefits, like hoping that maybe a young person comes out and has their first golf experience here, and then fast forward to when they're an adult, they might be playing in a championship in their backyard. But then for like a community benefit at large, the amount of exposure that the city of Frisco will get through the international broadcast of this championship is significant. You think of the KPMG Women's PGA Championship as being one of the most televised events in all of women's sports. Over 26 hours of live coverage across the NBC sports platforms, another 19 hours plus of Golf Channel's live from. Nice. So if you're a golfer, you of course know live from. They'll be broadcasting from just in front of the resort all week long from here in Frisco. And I mentioned that's not just a domestic broadcast, it goes around the world with a household reach of over 500 million homes.
Wow.
And in nearly every country and territory on the planet. And so that exposure is significant. Of course there's tax benefits and heads in beds and things like that, but really that exposure is maybe the most significant aspect of the championship.
Well, that's awesome. And it's exciting. As a resident of Frisco, I've been here 13 years. Super cool to have all the eyeballs on Frisco. No pressure, right?
Right.
But I mean, I know you guys are going to pull it off and do just a fantastic job. I know you did with the Senior PGA Championship a couple of years ago. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm wearing my blue shirt as a volunteer here, so I'll be out there on Pro-Am Day helping out with the cause.
Yeah, and couldn't say thank you enough for that. We do need over 1,100 volunteers, and as you know, the historical language is volunteers, but you're actually paying a fee, in many cases taking PTO from your job. But I think if you are, a community supporter or someone who's an avid golf fan, there's really no better way to experience a major championship than as a volunteer. Whether you're inside the ropes or helping out with the Pro-Am, it is a unique experience, and hopefully will create memories and friendships that will last a lifetime.
Yeah, well, I still talk to some of the folks that I man the caddy room for the Senior PGA Championship. Still talk to some folks I man that room with, and got to meet some of the players, the friendly ones, right? They've got a job to do, but super fun experience for me personally, which is, again, why I'm back here doing it again. So.
Well, we'll use that testimonial on our volunteer recruitments.
There you go. There you go. All right, so a fun final question for you. Obviously, a ton of work over the last couple of years. We're almost to the finish line. What are you going to do after the tournament from a personal standpoint to take a breather?
Yeah, we're going to actually take a week and go back. My wife and I are from Michigan. Our family still lives up there, so we'll take a breather just after construction's done, or teardown is done on the back end of the championship. Go up and play some golf and visit our friends and family, and then come back, recharge, and already we're well into 2027 PGA planning already, even though this is there on Thursday at KPMG Women's PGA Championship week. So we'll come back refreshed and jump right back into 2027 PGA Championship planning and wrapping up paying bills and things like that in the back end of this event.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Jason, again, I appreciate you spending time with us today. And best of luck over the next week and a half, and I look forward to attending the tournament myself, and wish you guys all the best of luck.
Well, yeah, thanks again for your month of PGA of America coverage. We really appreciate it.
The community difference, Collin County, was made possible by Brian Poduska with Real Property Management Focus, Bethany Ralwin with the Beer Ralwin Realty Group, Jacqueline Kreider with Financial Mastery Simplified, Debbie Watson with Abracadoodle, and by Lauren Gill with My Live, Love, Travel. The community difference, Collin County. Together, we can make the difference.